Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin. I feel like we're at a different angle today. I'm trying something different. Anyway, today I thought, wouldn't it be fun to see if I could find a new auto-buy author? And I was thinking about this. I have a couple of authors that I want to try this with. I tried this with Sylvia Moreno Garcia a couple of months ago, and I did a vlog and found out, yeah, she's an auto-buy. I don't know why I ever thought she wouldn't be, but she is. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to try Tia Williams because I have an arc for a love song for Ricki Wilde, which comes out on February 6th. So it's probably out by the time you see this. But so I read 7 Days in June last year. I think last January. I think Monet chose this for me to read. And I had a great time. I know people say like this is a romance. I would not categorize this as a romance. Are there romantic elements in this? Absolutely sure. But I think that this is a bigger story about two individuals who use drugs to cope with some of the hurts, physical, mental, and emotional, that they've been dealing with. And then they kind of have this toxic, unhealthy relationship with each other that's based on like drug-fueled nostalgia. Now, this is not to take away from this book because I loved it. I think I gave this like a 4, maybe 4.5, probably a 4. But I really, really liked it. I think Tia Williams is funny. I think she knows how to really write a character. I think she knows how to make someone compelling enough for you to want to like continue the story. And so we're gonna see if Tia Williams is the one for me. Am I going to futurely buy everything that she writes? So I decided I'm gonna read like 3 books from her. I already have an arc for a love song for Ricki Wilde, which I'm not entirely sure what it's about. I know that it's about a girl, Ricki Wilde, and she is a part of a funeral home business, but like she doesn't want to be in that business, and so she's trying to figure out like what she wants to do with life. I'm going to read that. Then I'm also going to read The Perfect Find from her, which was adapted and turned into a movie with Gabrielle Union. I think that's on Netflix. I might give it a watch if it turns out I like The Perfect Find. And then the last one I'm going to read is The Accidental Diva. I was about to say The Accidental Diva by Tia Williams. They're all by Tia Williams. All of them. I actually don't know what The Accidental Diva is. I marked it as to read a long time ago on Goodreads, and I don't know what it's about. I think that's one of her earlier works though, so I think that that should be interesting to see like how she progresses as an author over time. So we're just gonna jump into this. I think I'm going to start with The Perfect Find. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I've got it now. I'm gonna go ahead and get that. So we're gonna go Perfect Find. We're gonna go Accidental Diva, and then we're gonna get to the new one, Love Song for Ricki Wilde. And that's gonna be the plan. That's the plan. So I'm gonna do a little bit of reading today. I've got some time. I'll come back with an update. I've gotten about 30-ish% into The Perfect Find, and I'm really liking it. This is a romance. Unless it turns out to not be. To be determined. There's still 70% of this book to go. I don't know, 200-ish pages. I am having a very good time. We've got Jenna, who is a disgraced beauty editor, fashion editor. She was in a long-term relationship with this guy, and after 10 years, he's like, we gotta end this. It's over. And so she flees to Virginia for a couple of years. She like leaves her jobs. The headlines in New York are like just attacking her. Like the gossip columns are just so hard on her. And so she goes to Virginia to stay with some family, try to regroup her life, and she returns to New York and begs one of her enemies for a job. She doesn't have very many enemies, but this one particular woman, Darcy, is just like, you've taken all the jobs I've wanted, you slept with my boyfriend, even though that was a misunderstanding. It was that man's fault. Darcy is basically like, yeah, you can have a job here under me at my magazine, but I'm gonna let you know that you work for me. So Jenna is working for Darcy at this magazine, and one of the things that she has to do is grow like viewership for their online magazine. Enter Eric. Jenna meets Eric at this party one night. She's like, I'm gonna get my groove back. And she runs into Eric and they just hit it off immediately. And when I say hit it off, they were full on making out. Like one of those things that you're like, I'm never gonna see this person again, and so why not make out with them? That kind of thing. Little does she know that the next day she's gonna run into Eric at her job. Eric is also going to be working with her on a project to increase the views for the site. And that's all fine and dandy, except that Eric is also Darcy's son. So we've got a little bit of an age gap thing happening here because Jenna is 40 or she's either just turned 40 or in her 40s. Eric straight out of college. So Jenna is just so overwhelmed by all of this. Eric just thinking it's a fun old time. And he keeps making jabs at her like, oh, didn't we have the most passionate night? Do you love me? Do you still love me? Do you miss me? And Jenna's like, please stop. We have to work together. So they try to work together, and Jenna's just very uptight because she's really worried. This is her second chance at trying to live life, and she doesn't want any mistakes or anything to ruin that for her, which having an office relationship with your nemesis son could potentially throw a wrench in your plan. And so they start working together, but because I think of some of the tension that they have, it turns into a little bit of animosity on both ends. They're just not meshing well together. But it comes to a point where Jenna's like, hey, we need to work together. We can't just produce nothing because that's not an option here. Eric is like, you're right, let's call a truce. And that's kind of where I am right now. They've called a truce and they're trying to be friends. And it's so fun. I love it. I think I'm probably gonna just keep reading some more today. I really like Jenna. I think that Tia Williams is very good at writing female characters that are just so nuanced and layered and like strong in their own right. Like whatever field they're in, they seem to be like the best in it. And I love that. Like they're not just somebody trying to make it, they are good at it. They are known for being good at it. And I like that. So I will continue reading more from The Perfect Find, and I will tell you whether I like this or not. Good morning, people. Last night I finished The Perfect Find, and it was so cute. I was not sure where I was going to get with Tia Williams. After experiencing 7 Days in June, I wasn't sure if it was going to be like the same heaviness that 7 Days in June had or not. But turns out not so much. Were there some heavy topics that they touched on? Sure. But like it wasn't as heavy as 7 Days in June. I think I'm going to settle on like a 4.25 because I just had such a good time. I liked where things went with Eric and why do I want to call her Jana? That's not her name. That is not her name. And I can't think of what it is right now, but pretty sure it starts with a J. Anyway, after my 30% update, I liked seeing how the two main characters, how their relationship really blossomed after they decided to just like throw caution to the wind. They were just like, you know what, we've got something here, let's explore it, let's figure it out, let's see what it is. And then they did, and they like just really delved in deep into it. And did they come up against some obstacles? For sure they did, especially with like the age gap between them, with one person being in their 20s and starting their career and the other person being very established in their career and in their 40s and knowing what it is that they want from life and having to navigate through like what do we want from each other when we are on very different paths. There were times when I just wanted the main female character, what is her name? I wanted her to like speak up a little bit more, to say and claim what it is that she wanted instead of trying to be like easy breezy, go with the flow type of person. Like, yeah, let's just see where this takes us. Like, you know that there is something that you really want from life, but you're afraid that you're gonna run this guy off by saying it and naming it out loud to him. And I just feel like if you don't say that to someone, they'll never really know what it is that you want. And if that's not what they want, then let them go so that you can find somebody who wants the same things that you do. It all comes to a nice-ish bow in the end, and I'm so excited to continue on with The Accidental Diva. I have something else that I need to like read in the meantime, so I won't be like going immediately into Accidental Diva, which I think is great because it'll give me a little palate cleanser so that I don't go in with like overly high expectations. I can just take the book for whatever it is. And so that will be my next book to read and my next update. It is time for an update of The Accidental Diva. And I have to tell you, it's with a heavy heart that at 38%, I'm DNFing. Okay, so let's talk about it. I come off the high of the perfect fine, and I'm thinking, yes, this is giving me everything that I want, and we're just gonna get more of that in the accidental diva. It's giving me more 7 days in June, but not as good. Not as good at all. We have Billy, who's a beauty editor at a very prominent magazine in New York. And then we have Jay, who is a writer. Billy meets Jay because she goes to an event where he's working or performing one of his pieces, and they meet. Immediately she's enamored by him. She leaves the event, but she realizes that she leaves some of the products that she needs to talk about for work, so she has to go back to the venue where Jay was performing, and Jay's there. Jay sees Billy and is like, hey, I think you left this, and they're talking, and he's just like, listen, we're gonna go on a date tomorrow. And she's okay, I didn't ask for this, and I really wanted you to ask me out, but how dare you just command me to meet you at a place and then we have a date. They go on this date, and then I don't even remember what the date was, to be honest, but I remember they just they get into a cab, and then she full on gets on her knees and like, this is it, this is how it's going down. And I was like, cool, I love a little consensual business, but it just feels so insta-lovey because immediately they have this sex-fueled weekend where they're just banging and I guess talking to each other about their past, kind of, because Billy talks about her past a lot, but Jay is very aloof about his past because he comes from a very different background than Billy. Her parents are hippies, and so they're very free love with it, but like also I think her dad is a doctor or something, so she's come from a pretty well-established background financially. And Jay, not so much. He grew up on the streets. He didn't really have parents to take care of him, and he really raised himself. So I get him being a little apprehensive about sharing his background with her and talking about where he came from, because he's like, what if she doesn't like where I'm from? What if she judges me because of the experiences that I had? Cool, get it. But then they have this sex-fueled weekend, and Billy goes back to her friends, and she's like, yeah, I slept with that guy. Also, I love him. And I just want to be like, how do you know that? After 3 days where you guys barely talked about anything and just had sex, you love him? Okay. But then we get to Jay, and Jay's talking to a friend of his, and Jay also says, yeah, I met this girl. And in his brain, he's like, yeah, I love her. She could be my baby mama. First of all, could she be your wife and not just your baby's mother? Also, how do you know you love her? And then I think this is when I knew that I was like, I gotta head out. There was a moment, one thing that happened was that I'm just not connecting with either of the characters. Billy doesn't seem all that interesting. Jay doesn't seem all that interesting. And even though we go back into their backgrounds, I am not interested in knowing about them at all. Like, it just feels very long and drawn out, and we're not talking about a whole lot of anything. But then there was this one point, Jay has this friend, I forget her name. We're gonna call her Mia, because I can't remember her name. But Jay has this friend, and he met this friend while he was living on the streets. She ended up taking care of him after a really tragic incident where he was hurt really badly, and she took him in. Now, this friend, Mia, she is a prostitute, and she's also addicted to crack. And what Jay does, he's like, I really care about Mia, and I want her to not be on crack and to just live a more fulfilled life. So he's like, I am going to talk to her. And he's like, if you get clean, I will go to the 9th grade. Now, this is a flashback. This is back in the past when he's obviously high school age. So he's like, if you get clean, I will go to 9th grade. She says, deal, because you've got to go to school. And the way that she gets clean is he locks her in this apartment. It's him and her for like a week. He buys a VCR, gets some VHS tapes, and they sit in the apartment, no drugs. She just goes cold turkey, kicks the habit in a week. And I said, what? That's all it takes to lose your drug addiction? That's crazy. I don't think that people know. That's how you do it. And so I was like, maybe if I just keep reading a little bit longer, I will forget how dumb of a scene this is. But nope, I didn't. It just stuck with me. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna head on out. I will say that I think I mentioned this in my last clip, but I do like how Tia has this character of a black woman who's just on her shit. Like, she's top of her game. Billy is a head fashion editor or beauty editor that everyone knows. In The Perfect Find, Jenna was like a very well-known beauty editor. And 7 Days in June, the main character was a well-known author. I like that she has all of these women who are just very competent and capable and can like run things and are unapologetic about it. No one's like, I know that I'm top of my game, but I don't really know that I am. Like, they're like, yep, I'm a bad bitch. Yeah, I know how to do this. And I love that about all of the characters. Also, I've realized that there's like chronic pain rep in all of the main characters. I guess to mirror Tia Williams' own experiences with having migraines. So I think each character has had some varying degrees of migraine and pain management. And I think like that's interesting to see, because you just think of like, oh, you have migraines figured out. But like sometimes migraines are debilitating for people consistently, where it's just to the point where like you cannot function every day. And so I think like that's interesting. I'm gonna stop reading The Accidental Diva. I'm going to move on to A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. This doesn't have any bearing on whether Tia Williams will be an autobuy author. It just may mean that that first book that she's written was not for me. And I can see like her writing has clearly progressed from 2004 to, I don't remember when The Perfect Find was. 2016, maybe? I don't know. But you can see the progression. I'm gonna go into Love Songs of Ricki Wilde with high hopes. And I don't know if that's gonna hurt me or help me, but I hope I like this. Because I really think that Tia Williams could be an author for me. She's very funny. I like most of the characters that she's written. I like most of the stories. It was just that one. It just might be that one. Hello, good morning. I'm in my car. It's been a minute since I've been in here. I don't go anywhere anymore, so I'm never in my car. But I'm actually on my way to work, so I thought this would be a perfect time to do a little updatey date on Ricki Wilde. 30% in. I would have to say, at this point, one, I'm pleasantly surprised, considering that I DNF'd The Accidental Diva, and I didn't know what I was going to expect when I came into Ricki Wilde. Didn't know where we were going, but I still kind of don't know where we're going. I'm only like 25-30% in. It feels like a very soft, light romance. So far we have Ricki Wilde, who is kind of like an heiress to her father's funeral business, and her older sisters are part of the family business as well, and her dad is just like, you need to get on it, you need to be a part of this business, you need to start making me some money. And she's like, you know what, this is not my passion is flowers, and I don't want to be in the funeral business. So she ends up meeting this woman who was there to bury her husband, and ends up offering her a place to stay in New York. And she's like, you know, the front room is a shop. You can open up your flower shop, and the back room, you can like stay in the back part of the shop. And so Ricki moves up to Harlem. She starts to embrace Harlem culture, and she becomes friends with this girl Tuesday, who is a long gone child star who's trying to like find her own footing. So far, I like all of the characters except for Ricki's boyfriend. Is he her boyfriend? Unclear. Not really. Situationship, if we shall, at best. Anyway, I forgot that man's name. Yeah, he's not really who I'm feeling for her. And I'm calling it, they're not going to be together. He's not going to be much of a factor. But anyway, so Ricki's in New York doing her thing. Meanwhile, we have another timeline. It's the 1920s, also Harlem, but we're following Breeze, who has moved up to the north from the south. after some tragedy happens with his family, and so he's trying to start fresh, trying to start anew. He's talented because he can play the piano. He's self-taught, but he's really, really good at it. So he's making his way in New York. I'm not really sure how these two timelines converge yet, but I'm excited to see how they do, how like Breeze's 1920 and Ricki's literal 2024, February 2024 is going to mesh together. I don't know. Oh, I can't remember the lady's name. The lady that's like letting Ricki stay with her. But I don't know if it has something to do with her in her timeline, or whether it has something to do with like Breeze and Ricki. If it's Breeze and the old lady, like maybe that was the old woman's love. I'm liking the little magical realism elements that are woven through it. It just feels like a soft, beautiful time so far. Ricki is a much gentler protagonist than we've seen from Tia Williams. Not that Tia Williams protagonists are particularly hard, but you know, generally from what I've seen in the others, they are very like straightforward, determined women who are just like about their business. And Ricki is more whimsical, more like I'm gonna follow my dreams in the most lackadaisical way. And what's for me is for me. The universe will provide, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to see where we're gonna go with this. Hopefully I can get a little bit read while I'm in the office. If people don't talk to me. People love to talk to people on office days because like you haven't seen each other in a month. And I'm just like, I don't know why that should be any different. Let's continue the not talking. You know what I mean? Anyway, maybe that's just me in my introvert self. So I will be back with my next update, which will either be like if something happens or the end, depending on which happens first. Okay. I finished Ricki Wilde. I didn't actually just finish it, because when I finished it, I was actually in tears, and so I had to get myself together because I'm not doing that. But it was so good. This is the type of Black love story I'm looking for, that I've been searching for. I was gonna say there's no hardships, but this was just beautiful. I was gonna say uncomplicated, but I mean, there's a smidge of a complication in there. You'll find out why when you read it. But just these two beautiful people coming together and love just conquering time and space. And it gave me Addie LaRue feels, but like different, like Black, you know? And I think that this is one of the first stories where I liked the entire cast of characters. I mean, there's one or two people that you're designed to not like, and I did not like them. But overall, I was invested in the storylines of every single person that came through. Like Miss Della, she was just a sweet, beautiful old woman, and I was just like, you're precious and I love you and I want you to be my grandma. And then you have Ricki, who is going through not just like trying to figure out who she is, but like who she is outside of her family, and trying to go out on her own and make her own way without the backing of her family. And then you have Breeze, and once you find out Breeze's story and how it like meshes with Ricki's story, you are just even more interested. Although I was interested in it before you find out how he's connected to Ricki, but like I was just interested in everybody's story. I wanted to know everything about them. I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know how they were going to come together. I wanted to know everything, and I just had such a grand time. And Tia Williams, why would you have me crying? When I tell you I was crying, y'all, I was sobbing. So I'm sure you can tell that I really liked it. This is my first official 5-star read of the year. I was surprised too. I was surprised. I didn't see it coming, especially after what had happened with the accidental diva and me DNFing it, and I didn't see it coming. I was like 4 at most, but like 5 stars, amazing. I'm gonna get myself together and I'm gonna come back, wrap this up for you guys. and decide whether Tia Williams is an autobuy author for me. To be determined. We've come to the end, and I have to determine whether Tia Williams is going to be an autobuy author for me. And I would have to say, at this point, I'm not really sure how she could not be, because wow. Let's rewind in time. Kind of, but not really. Anyway, 7 Days in June. It was a very good book for me. I wasn't a 5-star read for me. And again, I don't categorize it as a romance as a lot of other people do, but that's okay. I still think it's a phenomenal book about two very flawed characters and how they try to find their way to each other while trying to, get their lives together, basically, because they really need to get their shit together before they even think about being in a relationship. See here and there. It's still a 4-star read for me. So then I transitioned my way to The Perfect Find, and it was just so good. In the beginning, I wasn't sure. I was unsure. I was like, I don't know. But it turned out to just be so good, so good. So we have Jenna Jones, who has to come back and climb her way back to the top of the beauty industry after leaving for a couple of years after kind of a scandal with her ex-boyfriend. And she comes back and she runs into Eric. Eric is this charming guy that she kind of makes out with at a party, and from there she's just like, that was a great night. Come to find out, they're gonna have to actually be working together. Also come to find out, Eric is the son of her rival, who happened to have given her this job mostly to humiliate her and humble her. But like, there's just a whole lot going on. Jenna is reaching 40, or she's right at 40. She's made out with this 20-something-year-old kid, and she's just like, what? And the kid is her nemesis, like, son. But they can't stop the chemistry that's flowing between them. Like, Jenna's like, I really need to figure this out. And they just decide to just throw it all away and just go for it while being secretive, because workplace romances can get you in trouble with HR. Just that's a statement for anyone who needs to hear that, okay? Be careful. That's just a lot of HR paperwork that nobody wants. And so they come up against some hardships, but I think the ending was actually very perfect. Like, it may not be the ending you're expecting, but it's the ending that we needed, and I really just loved it. And then I transitioned to The Accidental Diva. That was, I think, her first book. I still haven't looked that up. I'm not going to. And unfortunately for me, it was a no. It was I don't know what we're doing here. I can't connect to any of the characters. I can't connect with the plot. Like, it wasn't it for me. And so I DNF'd that pretty early on, maybe like 30% of the way in. And that's really that. Now, I would say that if you want to give Accidental Diva a whirl, go for it, please. It may be your jam. It wasn't mine. A love song for Ricki Wilde, and it should have just been called This Book is for Robin. This is a love song for Ricki Wilde. That is also a love song for Robin, because it was just so good. I know that my last clip is it probably doesn't make any kind of sense, but it was just, I needed to give you my immediate thoughts and reactions. Not immediate, because I did take a minute to collect myself and get it together after I was bawling my eyes out. Like, Tia, girl, why do you have me in my house like this, just crying? Crazy. And I'm not a crier, like, in general. Great, my battery's gonna die. Let's change the battery and we'll wrap this up. And we're back. We had Ricki Wilde, who is trying to get out of the shadow of her family. They run a chain of pretty well-known funeral businesses. Her sisters have all decided to go into the family business. And Ricki is like, you know what? I don't want to do this. This is not my passion, and I want to go and open up a floral shop and do it on my own and not on the name of my family. And so she goes and she does that. She meets a wonderful woman, Miss Della, who happened to come into the funeral business because she was unfortunately burying her husband and needed funeral services. But they strike up a friendship in that process. Ricki moves to Harlem, which just happens to be magical and wonderful and beautiful for her, not only in just like her creative space, but like her personal space. And she just feels like she's growing. She's meeting people. She's got a new friend, Tuesday, who was like an old child star. Tuesday is trying to get out of that shadow. And you're following all of these people that have their own storylines, and they all come together in the most perfect, beautiful way, because then we also have another person and another timeline. We're following Breeze, who is from the 1920s. He used to be a sharecropper in the South. I don't remember what state, but like he makes his way up to New York, to Harlem, to find a new life. And you get to see like how Breeze's storyline in the 1920s crosses paths with Ricki's timeline in present day. There was nothing that was overly complicated about it. There was nothing that was like a tragic type of backstory. It was just two Black people fallen in love through time and space. Nothing could keep them away. Fate had in mind something for these two, and they couldn't escape it. And it was just beautifully written. I will say that in everything that I've read, Tia Williams does a couple of things really well. She can write a Black woman like nobody's business, somebody who is just authentic and boss bitch at whatever they do and just like doesn't take shit. I love it. Even though they're very powerful and strong, they are still vulnerable, you know, able to open themselves up to potential love partners, to potential romantic interests, to friends. The other characters in these stories are usually also very interesting to read from. Again, I can't say a whole lot about The Accidental Diva because it was clearly not my favorite. She's also subtly funny. Like you're just reading along and she'll write something and you'll just laugh out loud, or at least I did. And I was like actually laughing. It was funny. And so for me, Tia Williams is definitely going to have to be an auto-buy author. There's nothing else that I can say. The last 3 books that she's written have just been something that I meshed very well with, have rated very highly, have enjoyed so much. And I can only see her getting better and better with time. But yeah, if you haven't read A Love Song for Ricki Wilde, if the only thing you've read by Tia Williams is 7 Days in June, I implore you, I beg you to go read some of her other stuff because, man, fantastic. Especially A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. I can't believe I gave that a 5 stars so easily. I have to think. I've probably never given a romance a 5-star rating. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I'm not going to remember what I rated a book. So just know that I very rarely give romances like a super high rating. But this one, Love Song for Ricki Wilde, please go get it. It's already out. It came out February 6th. And just have a good time. If you hate it, don't tell me. That's none of my business. But if you love it, come back. If you love any of her other stuff, or if you have a recommendation for any of her other stuff that I didn't read, let me know down below in the comments. Let's talk about it. And until next time, bye.